All right, ladies and gents, boys and girls, welcome back. It's me, Addy, again. I hope you guys are doing amazing as always. So, as you may know, I've recently established a system that allows you folks in my community to vote on games that you want to see me stream over on my Twitch channel, and I'm really happy with how it turned out so far. The first game to win as a part of it was The Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask, thanks to the amazing Kilniath in our community. So, a couple nights ago, I rolled the credits on this game over on my stream, and as usual, I'm here to bring you folks both my spoiler and non-spoiler review on the experience. Starting with the latter here, of course. And let me tell you, Majora's Mask is a game I really want to talk about, considering my love for the Legend of Zelda series. And also because my favorite game as a part of it is Ocarina of Time, which I loved growing up, and to which Majora's Mask here is, of course, the sequel. Now, it took me far too long to get around to it, but I'm so glad that I did. And there's something truly blessed, I have to say, about our spinning wheel system to select the community voted game, considering that this one was the first one that was selected. A game that I've wanted to play literally forever now, that's a part of something I hold near and dear. Literally, I'm holding him near and dear right now. Here's Link. So Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask, as briefly mentioned earlier, is the direct follow-up to one of the most critically acclaimed and influential games of all time by Nintendo, that being Ocarina of Time. Both of these games came out very close to one another on the Nintendo 64, with the first game releasing in 1998 and the second releasing only 2 years later. And I mean, it shows, because Majora's Mask on the surface looks one-to-one identical like Ocarina of Time, mainly because of its use of the same engine for the revolutionary 3D graphics that Ocarina pioneered for the series. So in a way, when you play this game, it feels like you're playing past the credits of Ocarina of Time. The visuals look the same, assets are reused and re-implemented, and gameplay is completely familiar. This is everyone's favorite Hylian hero, Link, as the child he was in Ocarina, continuing to roll around into walls, mow down lawns with his sword, and, play tunes with his ocarina. What's different about it, and by extension, one of the most beautiful things that the Zelda franchise has always taken pride in, is how it reinvents itself and stands out despite being so familiar. And this has historically been what we all look forward to with the new Zelda games, specifically the latest entries into each sub-series, like the Ocarina-verse, as I like to call it, with Ocarina of Time to Majora's Mask, or the Breath-verse with Breath of the Wild to its sequel, Tears of the Kingdom, which, by the way, is my second favorite Zelda of all time. If I had to rank my top three, it'd be Ocarina, Tears, and Oracle of Seasons. I'm a based Oracle of Seasons lover. Now, a lot of you out there must have played Tears of the Kingdom, the latest big-budget Zelda game, and if you have a similar outlook towards it as I did, you'll find that it's a game that took the foundational building blocks of Breath of the Wild and continued adding more on top of that, not only to craft a new identity for itself, but to also improve upon Breath in almost every way. The best way I can describe Majora's Mask is that it doesn't necessarily improve upon Ocarina of Time as much as it instead takes those building blocks and rearranges them. It's that familiarity being contested that makes each Zelda game so interesting. And Majora's Mask has to be, by far, the most interesting and experimental Zelda game that I've personally ever played. Right off the bat, you'll notice that it's darker and edgier. It's potentially the edgiest a Zelda game has ever been. And without saying too much, a lot of the staple elements of a Zelda game, beyond Link, his green tunic, and the 4 dungeons he needs to conquer, aren't here. And what you instead get is a highly unique, simple yet effective story with massive stakes. And the gameplay is what brings it home in this department, all stemming from the concept of time. Now, time has maintained an integral role to the stories of several Zelda games, and it's how Link, and by extension the player, gets to manipulate it that gives so many of these games their unique draws. Majora's Mask, despite it not ending up as one of my favorites in the franchise, has my utmost admiration for playing with time travel in such a brilliant and imaginative way. And because of how this game, admittedly, had me worried and borderline off-put by its approach to this in its first hour or so, to then having me change my mind in less than 30 minutes whilst finding it to be one of the coolest things I'd experienced. I don't want to give away exactly what this game's unique draw is with the gameplay and time travel gimmick. I'd pretty much not heard anything about this game going into it, really, besides seeing some of the iconic imagery such as the terrifying moon and Majora's Mask itself, and finally getting to see how it all pieced together and made for one of the most original gaming journeys I had the pleasure of experiencing has me wanting to say as little as possible during the non-spoiler review, because my hope is that you go through a similar experience, a similar evolution that I did with my thoughts about this game at the very beginning. It was a really beautiful experience. But what I will say is that Link's Ocarina is back, and how you get to use it to manipulate time in an otherwise really stressful gameplay loop allows something that should feel extremely pressing to feel like a more relaxed, normal gaming experience that you can enjoy at your own pace. And this dissonance is achieved remarkably well by the game. I get it. I do. Absolutely. I know why Majora's Mask is considered to be an exceptional game by so many people, if not their favorite game in the series, if not their favorite game of all time. It's incredible time travel mechanic that creates for such an immersive world with rewarding secrets, interesting progression, and riveting side quests on top of the myriad of ways for Link to transform himself to take on several unique gameplay obstacles makes for such a highly engaging experience. For me personally though, I would still have to put Ocarina above this one, mainly for aesthetic reasons. I loved the presence and execution of its classic staple elements that define a bulk of the series, and I'll go into what I mean by that in my spoiler review. And as well, I preferred the music, dungeon design, and puzzle design in Ocarina of Time over this sequel. Even though I will say that one of the coolest things that Majora's Mask does do that I personally haven't experienced in another Zelda is it allows players, given its system of time travel, to replay its dungeons. And I had so much fun with that on my playthrough, just going back into dungeons, collecting things I missed out on in the first go with them, and using abilities I unlocked later down the line in the game to breeze through some of the earlier obstacles that would give me a lot of trouble. I thought that was brilliant. But what I think that Ocarina has that will never allow it to be replaced by any other game in the series, ultimately for me, is that coming of age aspect, and how the world and its tone morph to reflect the stage of his life that Link is at, whilst trying to save Hyrule from the clasp of Ganondorf. I talk about this a bit in my live review, but one of my favorite gaming memories will forever have to do with the Forest Temple. It's haunting yet soothing music playing in the backdrop as you, the player, get to experience one of the greatest tonal shifts in the history of video games, if you ask me. In the end, I would give Majora's Mask a solid 9 out of 10 from where I'm sitting. In my live review and spoiler section, I mentioned that this game is the epitome of the best quality in the Zelda series, which is that creative uniqueness of its games. And while I firmly maintain that, I don't entirely agree with myself that you should play this game if you haven't played the others. Definitely start with Ocarina first if you want to eventually play Majora's, or maybe even some of the newer ones to get a smoother and more accessible introduction to the series, since Majora's involves an opening that can feel very brutal and unforgiving before you learn to adapt to its mechanics and understand the gameplay loop. But if you're someone like me who's played a ton of the other ones but has slept on Majora's, stop sleeping on it and get to it. I wish I could play the Song of Awakening right now on my Ocarina, which is currently in its case at the moment, to wake you up and get you to go and play Majora's Mask. You will come to really enjoy this game and find yourself experiencing something incredibly original. It's just that you need to exercise a lot of patience with the opening of the game, which throws you into an unfamiliar environment whilst giving you almost no time to familiarize yourself with your surroundings at your own pace, which is what a Zelda game normally does. And so that can be a very stressful and rude awakening that I know for a fact has put many people off this game over the years, including my older brother, who got this game from Blockbuster way back in the day, and I'll talk about this in my spoiler review, and pretty much returned it very shortly after. But once you overcome that hurdle, man, are you in for a treat. This is an amazing game, and even though it may not be a top 3 for me, it's definitely somewhere in a top 5 for this series. Now, if you don't have any older systems like the 3DS or N64, then you can get the game via an NSO subscription if you have a Nintendo Switch, or if you're like me and wanted to try this out on your PC, there's the wonderful unofficial port called To Ship to Harkinian. I ran this with a grand total of 0 hiccups with Harkinian, and I had a beautiful frame rate, resolution, and that was without any mods as well, which are supported, by the way, and are very easy to implement with what I've seen with this program as well. So even though this is a retro title, it's not something that's difficult to access, and you can get your hands on it pretty easy. And yes, like any older Zelda title, it may feel a little dated due to the controls, but trust that you'll get used to this, and that Harkinian also offers a decent bit of quality of life adjustments to bring this game a little up to speed if you're struggling with that kind of thing. Anyways, everybody, thank you so much for checking out my non-spoiler review of Majora's Mask. I hope you all have a really fun time with the game when and if you decide to play it, which if you have, welcome on into my spoiler review, featuring my live thoughts from after I roll the credits of the game, coming up right now. But real quick before that, all my VODs, I want to let you guys know, can be found on my second channel. That's Irritable Archives, linked below in the description, as always. And if you want to catch me playing through these amazing games live, you can do so over on twitch.tv/irritableiNdian. Keep on keeping on. Hey, and that's it. My man, my myth, my legend, Shigeru Miyamoto, Eiji Onuma, the 2 goats of the Zelda series. That's such a wholesome ending, man. I love it. He goes off into the carnival, presumably returns to Hyrule shortly thereafter. To see more? Okay, this is a classic Zelda ending where you kind of like touch base with the entire world. What's kind of going on after. I love that game, man. That was an amazing game, Majora's Mask. Like I said while I've been playing it, it's the most offbeat, experimental Zelda title I've personally played. It's so recognizable if you've played Ocarina of Time, and if Ocarina is one of your favorite games, which that's the case for me. It's my favorite Zelda, and I haven't played the sequel, and until now, of course. I wanted to play it for so long, and thank you guys again for voting for this game, and basically getting me to play it. It was really, really fun to go through, and a big shout out to Soul for guiding me through this game. Man, you're a freaking legend. I have to give you a big shout out there. This dude is a Majora's Mask freaking expert out here. It was really fun playing this with you guys. Such a cool, interesting Zelda game, right? Because it takes something I recognize so much, which is Ocarina, and it adds so much to it to make it a very unique experience at the same time. It's the same engine as Ocarina. It was on the N64. It's a direct follow-up, but at the same time, it's so distant with what it plays around with, what it kind of does, what it executes. Because Ocarina of Time is the quintessential Zelda, like I said, right? You've got the princess, you've got Ganondorf, you've got the Triforce, right? And this game is like, okay, there's none of that really. There's just Link on another adventure, and a very unique one. It's just about a boy who's lonely, who gets this mask that turns him evil and summons this moon that's going to destroy everything, and it's a simple plot. You got to save the world in the span of 3 days. I think it's a phenomenal game. Now, I will say that Ocarina of Time is still my favorite Zelda. I don't think this is better than Ocarina. I still personally prefer that game. That's the beauty of the Zelda. Everyone will have their own opinions on the games, right? Because they are all so unique, and the beauty of Zelda is that every game and every sub-series within the franchise, like, you know, Ocarina to Majora's, Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom, they always reinvent themselves, right? And they always do really interesting things with the concept of time travel for the most part. I like the way that this game kind of approached it, and one of the most interesting ways I've seen, where, like I said, with a 3-day system, right, where you got to like stop the moon from crashing into the world. And I love kind of how I felt about it and how my feelings towards the game developed as I played. One of my favorite memories of playing through this game is always going to be how I started it off, and I was overwhelmed. I was terrified. I was like, dude, what? Okay, I don't understand the layout of this town. Shit's gonna end in 3 days. I'm freaking panicking out here. What, like, so we gotta finish the whole game in 3 days? That's what you initially think when you start the game, and why I think so many people kind of freak out when they start it for the first time, right? Like my brother, for example, like I've been saying, when he got this game back in the day from Blockbuster, he returned it within, you know, the first 1 or 2 days of playing, because he was like, I think I have to finish the game in 3 days. So it feels really overwhelming at the start, but then when you understand how the 3-day system works, and you understand that you can make certain progress, and then go back to the first day with the help of the ocarina that you still have from the first game, you know, manipulate time to go back, and also manipulate time to slow things down and speed things up depending on what you want to do, it makes it feel more like a regular game that you can play at your own pace. And that is just amazing, right? I've never played something like this before, right? Where you're essentially trying to speedrun it without the pressure of speedrunning it. It's so brilliant and is a testament to the beauty of the Zelda series, which is that they always have so many interesting, amazing, original gimmicks in their games that you've never seen anywhere else. It's brilliant. It's fucking awesome. The reason I personally prefer Ocarina a little bit more is because it's just that classic Zelda experience, you know, that I love of, you know, there's Link, there's the hero, there's the princess, he's gotta go save her, defeat Ganondorf, seal evil, the Master Sword, the Temple of Time, the Triforce. I love that whole angle on Zelda. And this game didn't have any of that, but it was still very entertaining. It's a simple story. I appreciate what they did, and I love how I went from being overwhelmed, like I said in the beginning, to thinking that, man, this game is incredible. And in the span of 20 minutes, by the way, this is obscene, dude. Like, I'm sure it's a phenomenal game, but this does not do it any favors. I don't have good first impressions of the game, to be 200% honest with you guys. I just don't like games where you're pressured by time, man. This doesn't do it any favors for me. This is amazing, dude. What a fucking opening to a video game, and it's like all optional too. It's like this is one of the coolest fail states ever. God, this is so sick. It reminds me of Lavos in Chrono Trigger. This is one of the ballsiest moves I have ever seen in any video game I've ever played. Starting the game off with a time trial, where if you don't do something in a certain amount of time, you fail, and then you're reset to back here. That's one of the coolest things I've ever seen in a video game. That takes balls, making the decision creatively to start a game off with a time trial like that, and to then direct it so well on top of that with the way the music changes, it ramps up, it starts to add pressure, and then it culminates in this huge moment there where the world just literally fucking ends. This is why you love the Zelda series, man. They're always reinventing it in so many unique and amazing ways. Yeah, and you know what's amazing, dude? Is the way I felt about this initially, right? Because I feel like many people might have had the same perspective on this game when they first started it of, God, I don't know if I like this. What? I don't even understand the town yet. What are all these different locations? I don't have a lot of time. I think I don't like this. But then you see the way it all unfolds, and then you're put back here, and then you think to yourself, okay, wait, now I know a little more though about the town, so now I might be able to do it a little bit faster, and then so on and so forth. The game is basically encouraging you to speedrun, even if you don't like speedrunning. Speedrunning is a mandatory part of it, but in a very low stress, relatively speaking, low pressure environment for that kind of a thing. It's incredible. I love it. It's wild. I was like dogging on it in the beginning, and now I feel the way I do right now, you know? In the span of 20 minutes, when the moon first crashes into the world and we messed up our first run. Okay, Link's going back to Hyrule here, I think. I was like, this is one of the coolest games ever. Just because of the build up to it, the way the music changes as you approach the end times. Look at that, man. I'm so glad I finally played it. Ah, it's so wholesome. And I love the ending, how it's just a simple story about a kid who was lonely, and then you save him from the clasps of loneliness, and you defeat the evil that had overcome him, and it was going to end the world. And now there's a little etching of, you know, a happy memory of them hanging out together. Yeah, and fantastic. It's everything I love about the Zelda series in a game here. Right, even though it's not my personal favorite Zelda, and I wouldn't say it's a top 3 Zelda for me, what I freaking love about the series, my favorite thing about it, is all jam-packed into this. Right, with how inventive it is, how unique it is, how it offers something to the player they haven't seen before, with recognizable characters, recognizable world. I think Majora's Mask is fantastic. And like I said, on top of it, just like the 3-day cycle thing, which is unique, having all the different masks to, you know, allow you to transform into so many of the races, the iconic ones, all the different things like that manipulate gameplay in so many interesting ways and allow you to go through some really awesome puzzles with the temples and stuff. That was another really awesome thing about the game that I wanted to mention. This is the only Zelda game I played where I've been able to transform into other things, right? Otherwise, you get like certain pieces of equipment and stuff where you get to kind of get a feel for the powers of the different races, but you don't get to be them, right? This game sort of lets you be them, which is crazy. I remember like when we first transformed into Goron, I was like, what? This is insane. I just like go around smashing rocks and rolling through things, and all the obstacles and puzzles built around the different races and what you can transform into were very, very well done. Zora Mask was really cool, and the swimming felt really good in this game too. It's some of the most fluid that I've experienced in a game. It was very well implemented. Now, I wasn't the biggest fan of all the temples in this game, and that's the other thing I liked about Ocarina a little bit more than Majora's. Just like the very first temple in these two games, the Forest Temple, is still my all-time favorite. I love the vibe of going back and forth in time between Kid Link and Adult Link, and the whole vibe and mood of the game changing when you become Adult Link and go to the Forest Temple for the first time, and you're like, shit, this isn't like childhood playtime anymore, right? That's one of my favorite moments in all of gaming. That tonal shift is done so well, and the puzzles and stuff and all of that, I appreciated them more overall in that game. This game, it took me a little bit to warm up to the temples, like, you know, Snowhead specifically. I kind of had a rough time. Ah! I'm so done. The first one I wasn't sure how to feel about. The last two were amazing. Great Bay Temple and Stone Tower Temple. I loved the progression through those. I loved the areas. Zora's Domain was incredible in this game. The bosses, though, all across the board were sick. I'll be completely honest, I didn't love the fight against Majora at the very end. The design of the boss was sick, how he's like this Eldritchian monstrosity. I didn't love the way it played out. It wasn't my favorite boss, but I love some of the temple bosses, like in Snowhead Temple when you have to chase down the bull, and how in the temple we took on tonight, the last one, the Stone Tower, you have to transform into a giant yourself. I don't like moldy twins. All right, let's get to work. Can put on the Giant's Mask to become as big as them to fight them or something? Holy shit, I can't. This game is insane. What the fuck? Yo, this is badass. And we're Gucci. That's gotta be it. Heck yeah, dude. This game is amazing with how the different masks do so many different things for you. The transformations, getting to become a giant here. All the puzzles work with these dungeons. And lead to all this crazy shit. And getting a giant great sword via fairies and stuff. God dang, this is a peak Zelda game. Right, and that's the other thing. There's not just like the masks that let you transform into iconic races, but there are also those like smaller masks that also change up gameplay a whole bunch, the optional ones, and there's so many of them. I mean, we didn't even get all of them, right? There's a crazy amount of variety with how you can shake up gameplay and everything. You know, the bomb mask lets you like blow things up and you have it on your face. And then emergent gameplay, like being able to whip out the shield, block, and not take damage when you blow something up. It's not just the newer games in this series, like, you know, Breath and Tears, that really allow you to do some crazy stuff in some massive sandbox. But that stuff was all there with these older Zelda titles as well, which is really, really cool. Yeah, the bosses were sick. I loved that worm fight as a giant Link with a giant's mask in the Stone Temple. So cool. And there's so many things, like I said, that I still haven't done. Things I haven't touched base with, side quests that I'm yet to see. But maybe someday, right? I'm happy with everything I experienced, right? I'm leaving this game in a state where it's like, I've experienced enough to where I know that I really like the game, and I'm happy having ended it where I did. We did a solid amount of side content too, I want to say. Again, thanks to Soul and Rudy Kill, all the tips, suggestions, tricks, because there's so many things that if you don't really look up a guide for, you'll kind of just never ever see, or if no one tells you about it, you'll never see those. I want to say pretty much all the secrets in this game are things that when you do them, the rewards are amazing, because again, you get all those like extra masks that really change things up and show you some really cool, unique gameplay things. My favorite secret in this game, something that I think was a highlight of the playthrough, like a really big one, was when we did the one that had to do with getting the bunny ears as a reward. And we had to go lead a bunch of chickens around with the ocarina while wearing the chicken mask. and we got a little marching group of chickens that were like growing up and following us. And then we went to this punk rocker guy, and he's like, oh, here's a bunny mask that lets you run a lot faster. So just like really cute, wholesome things like that with the game and the secrets, and again, even the way the time travel worked, the 3-day system, and how cool it was with how the game played around with that in some really interesting ways. One of the best parts about the Zelda series are the mini games, right? The volume of them, how unique they are, how fun they are to do, the rewards that you get. For the most part, you'll get more heart containers, but you also get some really cool things too, like case in point, this game, all the really amazing, unique masks. An awesome game overall. Really enjoyed it. That's like my little live review of Majora's Mask. I give this game I'll give it a solid 9 out of 10. It was a huge 9 out of 10 game from where I'm sitting personally. The reason it's out of 10, I think that the only thing that stops it from getting there is how, yes, even though at the beginning, I did go from feeling like this is overwhelming, I'm not sure if I'm going to like it, to, okay, I love this. The fact that I felt that way at all at the start, I'm not a fan of that, you know? Like most Zelda games, pretty much all of them I want to say, when you start them off, right, you feel like, okay, I have some time to explore, to get used to this new world, this new take on Hyrule, or wherever we happen to be in this game. So in this one, it's Termina, right? In this game, it just throws you in, and it's like, here's all this lovely, jovial stuff you remember, but by the way, everyone's gonna die, have fun. Which I get that's what they're going for, but it can very easily turn people away from the game who get the wrong idea of it. You know, like, oh shit, wait, we have to do the whole thing in 3 days. Okay, I don't want to play the game. You know, which is what my brother went through, and another friend of mine who also tried to play this game, who's actually a fan of the Zelda series. He had the same thing, where he was like, that's the only one I didn't play because I was scared at the beginning. I didn't want to like speed run it. And that's what I was thinking too, until I stuck with it and then figured out how all this stuff worked. So it doesn't set you up with amazing first impressions. At least that was my experience, and it takes a little bit for you to understand and respect what the game's going for. So that's why it's a 9 for me. If you're a Zelda fan or have any iota of interest in the Zelda series, this is a straight up essential game for you to play. Yeah, especially if you're like someone like me and really love the franchise and haven't played this one. I think you definitely owe it to yourself to play it, because if you're like me, who I love this series, one of the reasons you probably love it is because of how unique each game is, with the recognizable concepts and how they play around with the mechanics and stuff, like the time travel and all of that. This game just is the most original experimental one that you will play in the whole series, potentially, at least from where I'm sitting. Glad Majora's Mask gave you a fun ride. It was awesome, man. Thank you, Soul. And again, thank you for helping me through this. Big shout out to Soul, and another massive shout out to Kill as well, because he's the one who voted for this game originally. It was his suggestion that won. Thank you guys so much for all the support. Been really fun going through this series, and this is our first official playthrough of the voted game. Take care. I'll see you all very soon. Love everybody here. Keep on keeping on.